If you want to speed up the sales cycle, then you have to extract objections.
My job is to figure out what specifically doesn't feel right for you.
You're never going to get a prospect to say, oh my gosh, Jason, you're the smartest person in the world. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser.
It's not about fighting your prospect. It's more about being curious than it is about being an educator.
What's the right mindset that a sales professional needs to have when it comes to handling objections?
So a salesperson can...
Hey, and welcome to the Jason Forrest Show. Today I'm with my amazing wife, Mary Forrest, and we are talking about objection handling, a 3-step framework to allow you to never lose a sale again. Now, what's crazy is that when it comes to handling objections, most people get it wrong. First off, they have the wrong mindset when it comes to handling objections, and they don't know what to say or what to do or even when to handle objections. And so in today's show, we're going to cover all of that. Sound good?
Hi. Sounds great. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Okay, so the first thing we have to figure out is what's the right mindset that a sales professional needs to have when it comes to handling objections. Let's unpack that first.
Okay. Well, I'm a move away person. So let's talk about the wrong mindset is where my brain goes first. And the wrong mindset is this is a personal attack. This is something that I must defend. I love how you say handle objections instead of overcome objections. So when I think it's an objection, I have to overcome it. Then what happens is I'm now in a battle and a fight. And I know that you call it warrior selling, but it's not about fighting your prospect. So for me, it's getting all of that junk out of your mind so that you can just be with the person helping to answer their question. Prospects call objections questions. They never say, I have an objection. They say, hey, I have a question. But somehow it's like as soon as we hear that, it like turns into this thing I have to overcome. And we don't. We have to handle. What would you add to the mindset piece?
Yeah, so yes and that. So 100%, it's about handling and overcoming. So overcoming means that there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And so when it comes to handling objections, the best you're ever going to get is, all right, I can live with that. Like that's the best. You're never going to get a prospect to say, oh my gosh, Jason, you're the smartest person in the world. I'm an idiot. You're incredible. You're smart. I'm dumb. That's never going to happen, right? So it's not about win or lose. It's the best that you're ever going to get is all right, I'm fine with that.
Okay, that's funny. I've never thought about it that way, but that's really funny. Okay, can I just think through a couple of objections with that though? So okay, give me something that I'm selling. Give me an industry.
So you're selling a car.
Okay, so I'm selling a car, and I'm like, okay, my question is this the only interior color that you have? Okay, you're right. You're not going to convince me that I love it. If what are other objects? The price.
Mm-hmm. Price.
Okay, yeah, you're going to get to deal with it. I'm not going to tell you that I love it. If I tell you I want it sooner, you're right. I'll have to just deal with it. There's nothing. Okay, you're right. It took me a minute. I just wanted to do a little justification that you're right. I cannot find an example where I would turn and think that you're amazing. But I've never thought about it that way.
It's great. It's a great way to look at it, right? So it's kind of nice because if you can kind of lower your expectations, that the goal here is not for them to say, I concede, you win, I lose, and the goal is for them just to say, all right, I can deal with that, I can live with that, I can sacrifice that, then that's okay. So I think one, that's why I think we call it handling versus overcoming. I will never overcome it, I can just handle it. And then number 2 is that you have to see objections as a gift. You have to see them as a gift.
Yes.
Because if just think about a single time that a customer said that the customer didn't have an objection that they actually purchased and really stayed with you. They don't. Without conflict, there is no change. So there has to be some sort of conflict, some sort of questioning before a customer can kind of process this and basically get to the end. So we need those objections. Those objections are the gateway to a sale.
Right. I mean, just putting myself as a person when I'm the buyer, when I go in, if I am super happy and light and everything's great, I love everything, I'm probably not buying. Unless it's a very low ticket price item. But if it's something that is a large ticket item that I'm taking very seriously and I'm really considering purchasing, My face is not smiling because I'm thinking so hard. I'm really I'm not as joyful to be around. I'm not making small talk with you because I'm weighing through the options of, is the value there? Should I do this? Is this the right decision for me or our business or our family? And then if I ask the question to the salesperson, it's because I now care what their opinion is, or I believe that they have knowledge that I don't have. If I don't have that efficacy in them, I pull out my phone and I start to look it up, or I call you and we're talking through it and I cut them out. So to me, I always go back to me as a buyer, because then I can remember that when somebody asks me a question or has an objection that they're sharing with me, then I'm like, oh, they respect me. They care about my opinion. They think that I'm an expert, or they've recognized, let me say that better. Let me recognize that I'm an expert and that I can help them through it. And so it is. It's a gift. It's a sign of respect.
It's a sign of respect, and it's also a buying signal. And we're very big in our company about teaching, anti-buying signals. We don't want people to have rules of, I need to see, feel, or have these things. They need to do these things for me in order for me to feel like I've got a hot prospect. But in this case, it would be much safer for you to believe that every single time someone has a question or has an objection, it's actually a buying signal. Because the positive intention behind every behavior, or there's a positive intention behind every behavior. And in this case, the positive intention is I want what you have, but I have some sort of dissonance inside of my brain. My right brain wants it, but my left brain doesn't want it. There's something, a part of me that is in a disagreement, and I'm looking for your sherpiness. I'm looking to you to facilitate this for me, to get me unstuck.
Yeah, the fun side of me wants to buy it, and the non-fun side of me doesn't. Or the non-fun side of me wants to buy it, and the fun side of me doesn't want to buy it. I think that's great. And especially when they're calling you back or emailing you with questions, it can feel, I know sometimes I'm with salespeople and it feels irritating or frustrating them, like, oh, another one's come up. But what does that mean? It means they were thinking about you. It means they were talking about you behind your back with other important people in their life that they care about. That's awesome. You are now in their head. You're in their mind. They're thinking about you. What a great time to call them directly and just talk it through.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so first we have to have that mindset. We have to have this mindset that objections are a gift, and that we are here to handle the objection, not to overcome the objection. And we have to 100% believe that an objection is a gateway to a sale. Like in most cases, in all cases, if I have a potential customer that actually is very easy, and they're like, in the case of, let's say, training, and they're like, all right, we should get started with training tomorrow. What's the price? I tell them the price, and they're like, sounds great. How fast can we get started? I actually like to add in a little resistance, which sounds crazy, because I also believe the rule of selling is make it easy for a customer to give you their money. But in this case, I'm actually worried that there's not enough struggle for them to take this seriously. So I would actually add some conflict into that. I would say, well, let's talk through this. So are you 100% prepared to do the following things? Are you 100% prepared to put this time in, this energy in? Are you going to hold your people accountable? And then, of course, they're going to ask questions like, well, how much time is it really going to take? And how much time do I really need to do? So those are some things they haven't really thought about. They were just thinking about the outcome or the result of training, but not necessarily the effort of what it's going to require. And so I think it's important. Without conflict, there's no change. And so I need to add in some actual conflict so that it doesn't become a cancellation later on. They sign up for something they're not really prepared for because they have the wrong expectations.
Well, that reminds me of when this was years ago, and I was going to get a workout membership, a gym membership, and I walk into a place and I end up, very easily, I take a tour and I'm like buying the biggest package that they have. And it was interesting because the sales guy there, who is excellent, he then turned around, right, which is different type of training. And he said, okay, so now, because of the results that you want and everything, here is the second thing I want you to think about. Let's talk about your food. Let's talk about drinking. There's no drinking. There is no, here's what I want you eating. Here's how many times you're going to show up and work out. And if you're going to have this gym membership, which how funny, right? A gym membership. Most of the time they're like, oh, you're here or not here. This guy was so serious about coming in that I was going to be happy with it. He's like, I expect you to be here 4 days a week. I want to see your face 4 days a week in this gym. And if you would like to have more accountability, what are your social media? I will be checking to see if there's alcohol in it, where you're eating, all of these things to put even more parameters around it, adding that resistance. And I think what's great about it is I had so much success because it kept pushing and pushing and putting more parameters and regulation around it, which was helpful at that moment.
That's exactly right. And the same thing happened when I was convincing you to marry me. You remember that as well?
Well, tell me more.
Well, I mean, the concept is that so many salespeople are afraid to extract objections. They almost believe that if they don't bring up the objection, then maybe the person won't have an objection. So, which is a very naive kind of belief system. My belief system is I need to extract the objections, because the faster I can extract the objections, the faster I can spend more time on really resolving those objections. And so,
yeah, I still don't know where you're going. I'm getting more nervous by the second.
Because you had some concerns about being married. And so I asked you. I said, so you said you actually said I'm not getting married ever again. Was your actual hardcore no? And so I said, well, tell me your number one area of resistance for being married. Like, why are you against being married? And then you said because I don't want to be a wife. I want to be a girlfriend. And I'm concerned that as soon as we get married, then I'm going to be a wife and I want to be a girlfriend. And I like the perks of a girlfriend. I don't like the punishment of a wife.
That is very true.
Yeah.
I forgot about all of that. You're right. Because being a girlfriend, I was getting flowers. I was taken out on dates. I had my own space. And then I was like, as a wife, am I going to have to clean your underwear and cook for you and all of these things that I just didn't want to do at that moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that I was able to speed up the sale of convincing you to marry me is I extracted the objections. So if you want to increase the sales cycle and you want to get them to buy on your timetable versus get them to buy on their timetable, then you have to extract all the objections, because I was able to get all the objections out, and then I was able to start kind of working them one at a time to prove to basically to resolve whatever objection that you had, to make you feel certain that I was going to do these things that you wanted to happen while being married.
Yeah, you did a good job.
I think so.
Yeah, you did a good job.
And I kept it up ever since.
Yeah, you have. And surprised I cook for you.
Yeah.
And I like it.
But yeah, so to me, yes, thank you. And so to me, though, I think it's a really cool kind of metaphor for people, or a concept for people, is that if you want to speed up the sales cycle, then you have to extract objections, because eventually the potential customer will bring up the objections as they figure them out, or they won't bring them up to you and they'll try to handle them on their own. They'll get advice from someone else. The conversation you're not present to is your biggest competitor, and so you don't want to do that. And so you want to really try to get everything out on the table as much as possible, so you can spend as much of your time that they give you with them to actually handle those objections, so that you're in control. And again, you can get that sale done a lot faster.
Yeah, and I think there's a third option where they don't know what the objection is. A lot of times I'll hear somebody say, or a salesperson say they're talking to somebody, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. Well, there's an objection there. They just haven't done the soul searching to figure out exactly what it is. And again, I don't think that's their job, though. I think that's our job as a salesperson. My job is to figure out what specifically doesn't feel right for you, what specifically is off, so that I can fix it, I can handle it, I can educate you that maybe that's not a problem at all, in the direction that would be most beneficial to the person in front of you.
100%. That's 100% what happened to you as well. When I asked you what's holding you back from getting married, and why don't you want to be married ever again, your exact response was, I'm not really sure. I'm just not sure I want to do that anymore. Like, you actually responded in a way that you didn't really know the answer. And so, of course, I kept extracting. Well, if you did know, what would it be, right?
So aggravating.
So I kept asking questions like that, like, if you could be married and you had an ideal marriage, or the vision of the kind of marriage that would make it a no-brainer for you, then what would that look like? What would you want, right? And so then through that vision casting with you, that's actually when you said, oh, well, I want to be dated, and I want to have people, I want you to buy things for me, and I want this, and I want this, and I'd say, oh, well, so that's the thing that's keeping you from being married. So you didn't even know. So
Right. Well, what's interesting too, and I remember this part, and we talk about logic a lot in our house because I'm a big fan of people learning logic, of kids learning logic. I wish that all kids were learning logic and it was part of everyone's curriculum. But one of the main keys in logic is to define the terms that you're discussing. And so so from that frame and that lens, when we said the word wife, you had your own personal definition of wife that was different than the definition of wife that I was using at that moment. And so the place that we had to get into alignment was on what is our definition of marriage? What's our definition of wife? And I remember at that time you said, well, what if create the definition that feels correct, and let's get in alignment there, and then let's move towards that. What's the definition of marriage that would be wonderful, and let's move towards that. And so I think that's happening a lot of time with our different prospects, is they're saying that they want something or they don't want something, but until we define the term, we can sit there all day. You could have sat there and used a process of handling objections with me, but it would not have worked because we had different definitions of the term.
That's great. That's genius. That's genius. So okay, so now that we understand the mindset side of handling objections, let's move into the 3-step framework, and now the 3-step framework will be perfect. So everyone, 3-step framework is very simple, and so first we must acknowledge the objection and understand the objection. So acknowledge, understand. Then the second step is we must explain. So explain why we do it the way we do it, and get the customer to rethink their needs, rethink what's most important to them. And then the third step is to get them to focus back on the total package, meaning that they're going to have to compromise somewhere, they're going to have to sacrifice something. And so we want them to focus on what they're getting versus what they're not getting. And then the very end of that part is to just make sure we've resolved it, to make sure that it's resolved, there's no loose ends, there's no open doors that still need to be closed, because that could cause the customer to ghost you. So we don't want to do that. So let's just go through. Let's just go through these 3 steps. So that first part of acknowledge, understand. So it's acknowledge with gratitude. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole gift thing. It's I mean, the fact that they're bringing up the objection, it's like, take a moment for a second, and it's like, hey, thank you. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Thank you for asking for my advice on this. Thank you for sharing this with me. I can see that you're struggling with this. I can see that you really want to buy this house, but you have some questions. You have some concerns. You should have some concerns. This is a big deal. You should be concerned about blank. I mean, how does that change everything when I bring in that much gratitude?
Right, in reverence to the person and to the purchase they're about to make. And I think that's even the most important on the very first thing they bring to our attention, because that's now training them in how we handle it. So I wonder how many times we mess up, or we aren't as grateful on the first objection, and so we don't get any more. They're like, I'll take it somewhere else. So I think that's very, very important. And, I spent a lot of time watching shop videos, listening to Rillas, and the number one thing that I'll see when it's brought up, or not number one, there's a couple of things there. One is, if we're not acknowledging with gratitude, then what's on the other side of that? One, there could be just the exact opposite, which is an irritation that comes up. Oh, I gotta handle, I have to overcome this. I'm now in battle. So this irritation, this fight that comes up. But more common, what I see is either an apology is given. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We are priced really high. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You don't like the color of this. Oh, the backyard's too small. Oh, you don't like we apologize for it. Blah. Or we ignore it. Like if I'm real still, maybe they'll forget I'm here and I won't have to acknowledge it. Just like completely ignore, or we escape. Like, hey, you know what? Let me go check something really quick and I'll be right back. Or get on your phone and do something. Let me look something up on my phone really quick and just escape out of it. So there's so many different options. And when we're outside of it, we can see the ridiculousness of it. But it's happening over and over and over again because I'm seeing it with my own eyes, listening to it with my own ears on these recordings of salespeople, good salespeople. These aren't bottom of the barrel salespeople. These are good salespeople. They're supporting their families. They're meeting their goals, but they still have some of these behaviors in them.
They do. And that's, again, I can't stress enough because they're just not thankful that the person's bringing that objection to their attention. And something you said is so true. And that's if you are in a state of uncertainty or fear or dread or anxiety or irritation, all these negative type emotions or unresourceful type emotions, then your customer is not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel open to really kind of share their heart with you. And they're definitely not going to be prepared to go to the second part of the first step, which is you're going to understand their objection. So if you don't create that first foundation of thankfulness, of I'm acknowledging this concern of yours with gratitude. I know that you're taking this purchase seriously. I know this is a big decision for you. I know you want blank outcome. So I want to hear you. I want to talk this through with you. And then you move into that kind of second part, that B of the first step, which is to understand. So tell me more. Tell me what you're really struggling with blank. Tell me what your concern is with blank. And this is important for people to realize, is there's a lot of ways to kind of understand, to figure out what's really going on. But one simple technique that I use is just remember the 4 dominant buying motives. So you have pride, profit, pleasure, and peace. So pride, profit, pleasure, and peace. And so let's just say, for example, let's just go back to you're selling a consumer purchase, and you're selling, again, let's say it's a high-end home, and they don't want to live next to a busy street. Well, the pride reason is because they feel like it's not significant enough. The profit reason is they feel like it's going to affect the resale value. The peace reason is they don't like the road noise, or maybe the safety is too close to the highway. And then the pleasure reason is maybe they don't like the noise. And so it's important to say, tell me more about your concerns about living next to the highway. Well, because they're going to tell you one of those 4 dominant buying motives when you ask that next question. And once you find out like the why behind the what, well, now you're prepared to start to reframe it for them and move really to the next step, which is provide an explanation as far as why did they build next to this busy road, and to get the customer to rethink their needs and what's really important to them. But if you don't do that, then you're going to have a different justification of that objection. So, for example, like why would you not want to live next to a busy road?
Probably the safety aspects. We have 3 kids, and so that would be the first thing that I would think of.
Perfect. So that's your reason. So mine would probably be more pride. It would probably be more like, do I look as rich living next to a busy road than maybe further away? And so think about that. Like, if my immediate paradigm and belief is that you're not going to look as kind of rich and as important or significant, then, and I don't find out what's your real concern, well, I'm going to start attacking that, and I'm going to start explaining you have nothing to worry about Mary. I mean, there's actually there's plenty of very expensive homes that live next to a busy road, and just like don't even worry about how that affects your overall status and affects the overall neighborhood and affects the look and the appeal of things. It just doesn't really matter. Well, what did I just do? What's the problem with that?
Well, you just stacked problems.
I just stacked problems.
So you took my one objection, instead of handling it, you made it way bigger. So now I have 2 issues with the same one with the road.
Yeah, huge problem. So that's why it's so critical to, again, first we must acknowledge with gratitude, be real thankful. That keeps your heart open, keeps their heart open to be honest with you. The truth will set us all free. Then we want to make sure that we figure out what's the real motive? What's the real concern around the stated objection? Pride, profit, pleasure, or peace? And then we move on to the second step, which again is to explain and rethink. And so what's that? Explaining is, well, let me share with you why we decided to build this community next to this road. Let me explain to you what we were trying to accomplish here. And then of course the rethink is it's calling back to something that we found out about them earlier on. So it's calling back to something we found about them earlier on, meaning that we found out that that it's important for them to have their kids in a top-rated school, and it's important for them to stay in a certain price range of $500,000. It's important for them to, have a certain size backyard. So these are all important things for them. So then we can come back to them and help them rethink their needs by saying, look, we decided to build here because it was the only way for us to build a community, build a home that lives next to X school district for blank price range, that has blank square footage, that has the finish out of blank, that allows the backyards to be blank size. That was the only way we were able to do that. And you said those things are so important to you. So we're helping them rethink their needs by doing that.
Well, and it's taking away, as I hear you say this, it's making me think, it's taking away that we didn't think about the road, or that we didn't think about. I mean, I think the real issue that a lot of people have is it not noticed? Did you guys not know that a busy road is not going to be everyone's favorite thing? And we say, no, it was thought through, and here's the reason why. It takes away the discomfort that it was about, that we forgot about it. Because the real problem, if we think that we didn't notice or we forgot something, was that what else did you not think about that I'm not thinking about? And now do I feel like I have to manage this sale, this project, onboarding, whatever it is that I'm going to purchase? I now feel like I have to manage it. But when you can handle it and let them know it was thought through and here's why, you're taking away all these other objections that are going to come up in the future.
That's it. So again, the first step is acknowledge the gratitude, understand the real objection. The second step is to explain why we did it that way, and help them kind of rethink what's important to them, their priorities. And then the third step is to focus on the total package and make sure that we have confirmed the resolution around that. And so that's just very simple. And this step is, but it's very important that we do this step. And that's just reminding them of everything they are getting. So it's getting them to it's getting them to bring back their attention to what they are getting versus this one thing that they aren't getting, and then just making sure they're okay with that. The belief system here is that there's no such thing as a unicorn anything. There's no such thing as a unicorn home or car or any kind of service that we're selling. There's no such thing, and so it's about just hey. So with that, so I would say something like, so Mr. Customer, with that in mind, with the fact that what's most important to you is to be able to get a home that has this and this and this and this. Are you okay knowing that you can have all those things, but be close to the highway? Are you okay with that? Or the other option that you might have, Mr. Customer, is that you could live 15 minutes further away. But when you do that, you're going to be away from the school. You're going to have to increase your budget by $50,000, which means you're going to have a smaller house or spend more money or have less features. So, what would you rather do to move further away and have this sacrifice, or stay here and have to sacrifice the road?
That's great. And I'm going to say something that the kids would say is very millennial and cringe.
Okay.
But there's so much right now. I think there's so many millennials will yell about mic drop moments, mic drop. I think we've gone too far with it, because what normally is happening at the end of the objection, I've handled this. I told you, here's my pitch on why we did it. Mic drop, walk away. Of course, everybody agrees with what I just said. And what I like about this is it's the opposite of a mic drop. I'm never going to mic drop. I'm going to look at and I'm going to say, how would that work for you? Is it okay to live by the street knowing that you're in the area of town you want, you get the home you want, you're in the school district you want, you have everything else, but you have the street. Is that okay with you? And now allowing them to participate in it instead of these moments where we just think, clearly my message I just gave is so good that there can be no explanation back or nobody could disagree with this. And we're now actively involving our prospect, which is how the whole process should go. They should be actively involved with us. We should be checking in on if what we're saying matters and lands for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because you're right. Because if you just did the acknowledge, understand, explain, rethink, and you ended there, and that was like your explanation point, or you ended with the total package of, you should really be grateful for everything you are getting. No good human being that's not grateful. So if we did it with that, you're right. That's that mic drop moment. But it's really that closure at the end of making sure that it really is resolved. And that's why what I'm doing now and what we're teaching now to our clients and what I'm really practicing myself is I'm actually adding a double bind resolution question. So you notice at the end there, I didn't say, so, based on everything that you're getting, are we fine now? Are you good now? Because what I don't want them to say when I was asking that question is a prospect will come back and go, yeah, I think so. But that I think so, there's still a little bit of of open door there. It's like cracked a little bit. And what I'm worried about is that's a seed that could be that might really haunt me later on. They might leave because there's some uncertainty there that hasn't been resolved. And then they might go, you know what, maybe we should keep looking. Maybe we should go see if there's not a better option. So what I did in that situation is by saying, so, there's like kind of two ways you can go with this. If you don't choose us and compromise on living next to the road, then your other option, the way I see it, is you live 15 minutes further away, or you increase your budget, by $50,000 and you do this, and this. And so I'm curious, of those options, what would you feel is the best option for you? What do you feel most resolved with? See, by letting them know what the alternatives are, I'm in control of that, and now they're closing the door. And they're saying, no, I can't raise my budget $50,000. Door's closed. No, I can't live 15 minutes further away. Door's closed. Well, if all those doors are closed now, then I'm the only open door now, and now they're moving forward with me.
Okay, Elliot, so let me say it back. So I'd either say, so instead of saying, so I gave you this great message, are you good with that? I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to say, so the options are that you have the home you want, you have the area of town you want, the school district you want, but you have the busy road, and you have this price point, or we can remove the busy road, have these things, but the price is going to go up $50,000. So which one are you more comfortable with? Oh, that's so good.
It's great, right? Because now there's no cracked door. I don't want a cracked door. That's my biggest kind of fear. It's again a total pro tip, total advanced strategy. If you read our Warrior Selling book, we don't even teach that in the book. We teach in the book just to ask more of a single bind question of, are we good with this? Are you fine? Are you okay? But again, there's too much feedback that came back that said, I think so, I guess so, but I don't like that. I don't like that I guess so. Like, for example, if I was to, same thing, it's like, if I was to ask you to marry me, I guess so. It's like,
that doesn't feel good.
It sounds horrible, right? I don't want that. It's like, let's talk through.
Sure.
Let's talk through what you're sacrificing with me, and let's talk through what the alternatives are going to be if you don't get married. Let's talk about that, right? And so I need to close those other doors. So there's no kind of open doors there.
Well, you used the word several times, but before you did, I was listening to you. The spirit that was coming out, the emotional resource was curiosity. Like, keep going deeper with the curiosity. Be very curious on, did my message really land? What is the real issue that we have here? Here, it's more about being curious than it is about being an educator. Like, I think if I had to pick for somebody which one to have, it would be curious about the person in front of you and what they're really going through and what's really important to them and which one they would choose out of these than to just give great messages.
That's great. Yeah, to yes and that, I would say there's actually three that you should live by. So one would be gratitude. So be truly grateful they're sharing this with you. Number 2 would be curiosity, and then number 3 would be resolution. So if you could kind of like get anything out of today, it would be when you're working with people and handling objections, be super grateful they're talking to you about them. They're not talking to anyone else about them. They're not talking to your competition about them. They're not talking to their friends and family behind your back about them. They're talking to you about this concern, and the concern is the obstacle that's in the way of them wanting to buy from you. And then number 2 is, yes, be extremely curious and help them through that process. And number 3 is just help them achieve peace and freedom through resolution.
That's great. And I think when we are, all of those working together is going to be something so incredible, and it's going to help us to not see an objection where there's not an objection. Sometimes people are just stating something. Some people just talk out loud, like, oh, here's a light, and you're like, oh, do you not like the light? I can move the light. Do you not want the light there? Oh, no, I was just talking. And so sometimes I think we add objections when they're not there. What's really interesting, I was watching this video last night, and the title of it was, I think it said like Tucker Carlson 10 years ago. And this guy in New York, he walks around and he videos interesting people that he sees. So he sees this guy fly fishing in the middle of Central Park. Have you seen this video, by the way? Okay. So fly fishing in the middle of Central Park. So he pulls out his camera and he's talking. He's like, okay, there's a guy fly fishing in Central Park. This is really weird. Let's go talk to him and see what's going on. So he goes up. Well, it's Tucker Carlson who's fly fishing. The guy doesn't know who he is and anything about it. What's so fascinating, and this is why I think this is a really good video, is Tucker starts asking him questions. And he's saying, hey, why are you filming me out here? And the guy goes, it is within my legal right. We're in a public place to film. And Tucker's like, it's cool, man. Like, I don't mind that you're filming. I'm just super curious. Like, what's interesting about me that you're filming? And he keeps asking the guy questions, but his level of curiosity was so strong, and he never got charged. The guy was defensive several times, but he never got charged. The guy even was talking about how he hates media and he hates news people, but he's doing alternative news and he has 15,000 followers on Twitter, and all of these times, right? Tucker could have come in and told him how many followers he has, and he's part of the media and all of these things. He never does, because he stays curious about the human in front of him and asking him questions. And it was very, very fascinating. The video, the guy actually comes back and does a selfie later and is like, I figured out who this is. Let me tell you what was going on. It tells more of the story and says, this guy could have said so many rude things to me and never did. But I like the video so much because of the curiosity that goes over the whole time, and he never took something as an objection with offense. He just kept going like, no, it's just wondering this, just question here, or all of this. His evenness through it was really fascinating. It's a very good video, and it's cool because it's shaky. It's like this guy, like random guy with his like phone out, and it's old and just very fascinating.
That is fascinating. All right, so let's wrap it up.
Okay.
So right now, tell me something that a sales professional can say, do, or think about in order to improve objection handling.
So a salesperson can think about that the objection is between the prospect and the prospect, not the prospect and them.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jason, what can a salesperson think, say, or do in order to handle objections?
Just truly have like a thankful mindset. They just have to go into it with, man, this is so great that this customer is sharing their concerns with me, and they're asking me, please, dear salesperson, if you can just make me feel better about this, I want to move forward, and I'm here because I trust you, and I believe in you, and I believe that you're going to help me through this. And if they can just kind of go into with that mindset, everything changes.
Thank you.
So tell me something that a salesperson can say, do, or think about to improve their objection handling.
So a salesperson can never have a mic drop moment. Instead, they share a great reason why they do something, and then they ask for feedback from the person. Would this be better for you, or would this be better for you?
Great, thank you.
All right, Jason, what can a salesperson say, think, or do differently in order to handle objections even better?
I would say just follow the process. They've got to trust the process of acknowledge and understand, explain and rethink, focus on the total package, and then just really make sure that you've truly resolved it. You've got to trust the process when it comes to handling objections. And the reason why that process is so important to trust is because a lot of times our amygdala, that part of our brain, will hijack us because we're in this place of panic or uncertainty, or we need to pay our bills, or we need to make our next sale. And so if we're not trusting the process or following a process, then our amygdala will take over. So by following a process, you're actually using your prefrontal cortex. You're using your most evolved part of your brain, your smarter part of your brain, and you're basically telling that barbaric kind of 2 million-year-old part of your brain, the amygdala, that hey, take a back seat right now. I'm figuring this thing out. I don't need you to put me in a panic state. And so that process does that. That process allows you to be rich versus poor.
Thank you.
All right, one last. So tell me something that a salesperson can say to you or think about in order to improve their handling objections.
In order to handle objections so well, a salesperson needs to be curious. They need to see this person in front of them as this amazing, interesting, deep, different, unique human being, and care enough about them to listen and to keep asking questions about what they need and want.
That's great. All right. So that wraps it up today. So again, I hope everyone listening right now realizes that the handling objections are a gift. They're something that are happening for you, not happening to you. There's something that the customer is really begging and asking, please, please, please help me. I want to buy from you. It's an easy process, a 3-step process that people can 100% follow, that leads the customer to peace and freedom and joy and happiness and life improvement and away from the pain they're currently facing. And a salesperson can be that person for their customers, which is a pretty awesome thing.
Nice work.
Okay,